850 on the revenue side, we shouldn't even be looking at expense for on the revenue side. So we got 850, we have to come up with additional revenue, okay? And we know that from the current taxes that we are currently over collections in terms of estimations. In other words, our revenue is exceeding our expenses significantly right now. So the revenue side is not bothering me. The expense side, I don't follow. I see the 61,825 and the 19,000. Where does the total net deficit come up to 706,000?
So when you take the revenues and the expenditures, what I gave you with the first draft budget was basically a balanced budget.
Correct.
So when you took out $850,000 in revenue, you now created a potential deficit in your budget. So that $850,000 does affect your deficit because you've taken that out of the revenue side of the equation.
I follow what you're saying. I still don't see the 706, but that's okay. Let's keep moving.
The 706 is just the number. You don't add those numbers up. That is just the number. If I take all the current expenses, including what we added back to the budget the first meeting, including the risk manager, and I take out that 850, our scorecard is 706,000.
So what you're saying is that whole notebook, the bottom line is we're 706,000 over expenses.
On the general fund.
However, council, let me say, remember, we are currently over collecting, okay? So don't be alarmed with that, that's what I'm telling you. All right, keep going.
That's it. That's all I had.
Okay. So are we gonna go straight through, beginning with the coroner?
Yeah, there should be an agenda. Y'all should have gotten an agenda. Do you have paper copies of that agenda? The first one is the coroner's office.
All right, Vicki, come on up. We'll start with the coroner. It's next anyway. If someone can get a copy of the agenda, that'd be great.
There's some.
Okay. You'll hand it to Sandy and.
Just to kind of guide Vicki along a little bit on where we're at, the first part that you're going to come to under this first section is part of the non-consent. This is not the personnel part. The personnel will come next. And in those non-consent, all you need to do is look at what was requested versus the recommended column. And those are the particular areas where there was a difference of opinion, such as training, travel, department supplies, the postage and uniforms, and then equipment. So those would be the items we need to focus attention on.
Okay. All right, Vicki.
Okay. Our deputies that we are in dire need of,
Vicki, would you pull that microphone down so closer to you and make sure it's on?
that one.
Is it on? Is the green light on?
Turn on both.
There you go.
You got it.
You need
Good.
both.
Yeah.
Okay. I am asking for 2 full-time deputy coroners.
So Vicki, let me interrupt you. If you don't mind, we'll get to that next.
Oh, okay.
So the first item is looking at, you asked for $2,500 on travel. And currently there's $1,000 in the budget. So you need to explain to council why they should give you $2,500, please.
Well, this year, they have canceled the convention. So that money will be coming back into the budget. Travel, let me look at.
Council, that's line item 57080.
And I think that's going on. Is it still on?
No,
It's on.
here comes Rossi. He's coming.
The travel is hotel, right? Okay.
Until Mills mileage.
This year, we'll be good with that since they're not having a state convention. They did cancel it. So I don't have an issue with that.
All right, so that remains at 2,000, scratch that request. Okay, next.
The next one, I'm sorry, will be departmental supplies. You asked for 8,250, which is the current budget. And I put in there $4,500 based on prior year.
And we have already received our shelves, which, Robin, you remember what that came to, the shelves. We've spent some money getting our files out of evidence. So again, I think that's gonna be okay. Now, the body bags,
Wait a minute. You're saying that's okay. You mean department of supplies are okay at 4,500 or? I'm
Yeah.
confused.
yeah,
So you don't need the 8,200 is what you're saying?
I don't know. The
Okay, so
body
we'll
bags,
get to body bags in a
That's
minute.
separate.
Actually, no, body bags is $4,000. You haven't spent anything on body bags.
Yeah, but that bill's coming in.
So you didn't actually request anything for body bags. You combined it with departmental supplies? You had a separate
Is
line
that
item.
what we did?
You had a separate
Because
line
I-
item last year for body bags, $4,000.
She didn't request it that way. I changed it that way. I broke it out of supplies and put it in body bag. So we can keep up with it separate.
That makes sense.
Doesn't matter.
See, yeah, it doesn't matter. We just got a big order of,
About $3,500.
but it's only how many bags?
It's 150.
150 body bags, and we already at 247 deaths this year. So if we didn't list that in body bags.
So the request is for $4,000 in body bags.
Yes.
Okay, let me try to summarize here.
Okay.
Taking it out.
So between departmental supplies and body bags, you need $8,250. Or do you need $12,250? That's what I'm asking.
We put
That's where the confusion is.
We put body bags in here in the request. They take it and put it down here, so that would be good at $4,000. You follow me?
So the 8250, I'm confused.
So what she's asking for is $4,000 in body bags.
And 4,500 in departmental supplies, I think.
We got the 4,500 in departmental supplies. We already did that. So now she's asking for $4,000 in body bags.
Okay,
I know what you're saying.
yes, the 8250.
So council, what bottom line is, and I don't want to spend much time on $4,000 on a $24 million budget. They're asking for $4,000 for body bags. Is there a motion to add $4,000 for the specific purpose of body bags?
Motion.
There's a motion. There's a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
What is the cost right now we're paying for body bags?
I think the last one we caught, I don't have it with me, but I'm thinking you were around about $18 a piece. That was with the straps and the reinforcement.
That's. But if that's the case, that's good. If we have 500 deaths, we're gonna need that
You gotta have
$4,000.
it.
So we got to.
Now, I mean, that's something, it's essential,
Yeah.
so.
All right, any other discussion?
We're gonna put 4,000 in body bags, but we're gonna leave that other than departmental supplies at 40,000.
4,500, yes, sir. Any other discussions? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. 6-0. Next.
Okay, so you've got $500 is requested for postage. And currently there's 300 in the budget.
Yeah, the only thing I really need, and I never know how many tots that we're gonna have to send off.
Okay, hang right there. Is there a motion to approve additional $200 for the postage?
Motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Patterson, second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand.
Next request is uniforms. You requested $2,000 in uniforms. Either it's buried in another line item or we haven't spent money on uniforms in
There
the
are two
past.
numbers for
Okay.
uniforms there,
There's uniform allowance.
and then uniform.
Yeah.
So
what you're really asking for is an additional $500 up to 2,000,
yeah,
not two line items.
no,
I got you. Is there a motion to add an additional $500 for uniform allowance for the coroner's office? I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any discussion?
Just to clarify, we're adding $500 to 21,060,
Correct.
Correct,
and
and
leaving 61,850.
0.
we will zero out.
And Ms. Kirkpatrick.
I need to know how you intend on spending it, whether it's through payroll or whether it's through a vendor. Because that determines whether it's a 21,060, which is a salary account, or an expense account if we buy it from a vendor.
Okay,
So that's why it's divided up.
I understand, but y'all can figure the details
So
out
let's
later.
do the 2,000 and the 21, in the 21,060, and then we'll figure that differentiate. And then next year it'll be much easier.
Yeah, because
So you're basically increasing the amount you're spending on uniforms in
By
this department
$500.
by $500.
we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. 6-0. Ms. Walsh, I'm going fast.
The next one may be easy. I'm sorry.
Can you go back to the postage? I
We approved it.
Who made the motion on the postage? Jeff
Here, I second
and Brown seconded. Brown Patterson.
You've got
All right,
3,000 for
next.
fuel. You have 3,000 for fuel. You've asked for 4,000 with the price of fuel. Are you okay with keeping it at 3,000?
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of that one. The last one is you have 1,000 in equipment as a request. I don't know what that is.
That's line item 74100, council.
Hold on.
Well, we'll let you take a look at that. Maybe we can move on to personnel. We got a lot
Yeah, let's get-
of ground to cover tonight.
Let's get to that.
So we'll move on to personnel, Vicky. So if you would, you've requested 2 additional personnel. Council, that'd be the item number 6. Item number 6. What you'll see there is just a general summary of all the requests. You'll see that's in all the personnel. There's a general summary of all the requests, so you can see the net is pretty significant. On this particular department, that's the next page. Looks like this. And you've got 2 personnel requested. That's 72,000 in salaries. You throw all your fringe in there, the net amount is $107,000 in new spending. Go, Vicky.
I have asked Betty Ann to pass this schedule, just to let y'all look at how we're working and how the schedule's going. I see per call is still at 21,000. And I've gone over. I need some full-time people. I will have the chief deputy, maybe by July, that position, but, I need full-time help. If that doesn't go, that per call is gonna have to be increased. I'm in the office every day. Something's got to be faxed or sent out, or families coming in, and then our temporary help looks like that's gonna be gone.
Well, actually, that's a part-time position. They gave you a part-time position, so that's not actually a temporary position. It's currently in the budget at $9,800 for that admin part-time.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that admin position apparently was turned into a permanent part-time position last year. And that, you have 9,800 in the budget this year for the part-time admin.
Okay. But if you look, I just ran off the past couple of months. That's the way we're having to run.
So are you asking for one or two full-time people?
I would love to have 2 full-time deputies.
What is your current full-time versus part-time?
Excuse me,
Your current full-time versus part-time, how many?
I don't have any full-time.
There's Vicky, then there's the deputy, Vicky, what Vicky used to be, deputy coroner. So
Chief
there are
deputy.
there are two full-time positions. And then there's the on-call pay.
Yeah, I will have a chief.
What position do you
deputy.
occupy? You occupy the on-call part-time?
Mhm.
Okay, you're on call.
They're all on call.
So there's currently a vacancy with the deputy
Chief
coroner.
deputy.
Chief deputy, thank you. The chief deputy coroner position is currently a vacancy for.
So you have a vacancy there right now.
Yes, sir.
It's already in the budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't
So we
do
need to fill that
anything
vacancy.
because it took so long to get me appointed. So,
So if you fill that vacancy that you used to occupy and you had the admin, part-time admin that was budgeted, is that, you need more than that? Okay, so you're wanting a total of 3 full-time, including yourself.
well, the chief.
I'm sorry, let me
deputy's
interrupt.
already
No,
in
the request is
budget.
for 4. So there's 3 additional, in addition to her, there's 3 additional full-time positions. 1 is already budgeted. So this would be 2 new full-time positions is what the request is. So it go from 2.5 positions to 4.5 positions.
Okay. Council, look at this page right here. I'm not saying I'm against it, but all of the total requests from different places, and we're gonna hear from the sheriff's office, the detention center, Veterans Affairs, legal, EMS, solid waste. If you add all that up, that's almost $2 million. We've already cut out the local option sales tax of $850,000. So that, if we were to add, I'm just giving you the full picture, if we were to add all of that, we're at $2.8 million additional expenses if we don't take the local option sales tax, which we've made a decision we are not doing. Okay, we've also, I believe the council's guidance, given the COVID-19 issue, was we're not basically going up on taxes on millage. So we've cut revenue from the local option sales tax. We're not going up on the taxes. We have to go up on employee health insurance. That's not an option. So if we begin adding these positions, and Vicki, you know I love you, I'm sorry. I love everybody. If we add them, just know what we gotta cut, we gotta have to cut somewhere else, okay? So,
Well, think about what we cover. And last year was 643 deaths. This year, as of right now, we've already worked 247. That will leave me with a chief deputy, which I've lived it for years, and it's hard. It's hard and it's stressful not to have some full-time deputies that can come in and work during the day, at night. You see how I've gone and not abused, but the per call.
I recognize that, and we all recognize the last 2 years you had to run 2 jobs. Let's just be honest. We recognize that and are very thankful.
But you have a part-time position open right now. And with that part-time position, they get extra pay. Am I not right? They get that $75 per.
Those are my
I
part-time.
know that, but just like before you were elected coroner, you was considered a part-time coroner, right? Part-time.
No, I was chief deputy. I was
Okay,
salaried.
chief deputy.
Yeah,
She was part-time,
But you got
Until-
part-time, if you pay was considered part-time. Even if you was chief deputy, Mr. Nichols was a full-time person, right?
and I was too, after I got
But that's
chief.
the one you're missing now, right?
Right,
So that's the position that's open right now.
yeah, but it's already in budget.
Okay, so here it goes. Is there anyone on council that would like to make a motion of any of the requests you heard?
I think, I hate to say it, but we need to stay the course this year. Basically what we did this past year, with everything that's happened, we just ain't got the money to do all these increases like this.
Anyone else?
I personally like to say personnel all at once, so we don't, if we do decide to start adding positions, we don't just add the ones who come up first.
And I certainly recognize that. The problem is we have to hear them one by one. We can come back in the end, and if we so desire, after we hear from the sheriff's office, detention center, you talk about this evening.
No, yeah, I mean, in total.
Oh, in total.
Maybe as they come,
Okay.
so we don't have to have everybody else, and once they can explain the need.
Okay,
then we go vote on that towards the end of the budget when we see what we're.
all right.
It isn't just because it's such a significant amount, it's almost $2 million request.
I agree.
And I understand taxes, insurance, and all that.
I know.
But if I don't get 1 or 2, would you be willing to lift the 21 on per call? Because, I mean, I'm gonna go
It's gonna go
over.
over.
I'm gonna have to.
So what would you need that to raise?
Well, right now, what is it? And that's-
21,000,
Okay, but I've spent 28.
8,
Is that right,
146.
John? Probably.
that's projected.
That's
You're,
projected.
at 6 months, there was 14,000 being spent.
Yeah.
So you just double that basically as a projected.
So if we raise your own, or per call to 30, could you live without 2 additional employees?
I would,
She won't like it, but she can live with it. Is that right?
yeah. I mean, if I could go over, it's nothing that I would be abusing,
We understand that. And you don't know how many people are gonna die. We can
No.
look at the estimates. All right, is there a motion to such?
I'll make a motion to raise 11,015 to $30,000.
All right, there's a motion by Mr. Patterson to raise the per call pay line item 11015 to $30,000, an additional $9,000. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Young. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Wood in opposition.
Thank you. Solicitor, you're up next.
the software.
And
That's the capital.
I want to change that fast, buddy.
Software's, I think-
On that, I was
Okay.
trying to catch up,
All right,
and I'm sorry, I'm gonna vote in the affirmative.
I think software's already taken care of.
20,000, 30, what?
that vote changes
think so.
from 5-1 to 6-0.
Okay, 21,
We'll have to take a look at
30,000,
that.
right?
In lieu of two additional employees.
Yes.
We'll have to
Okay,
take a look
I'm
at
not
that.
affirmative on that.
Okay.
I think it's already been taken care of.
Yeah, it
The software.
David, come on up.
I don't know, let's revisit it. We're kind of in a rush tonight, but I wasn't prepared to discuss it. I think the software's already taken care of. Remind me to take another look at it.
This is our solicitor, Mr. David Stumbo. We certainly appreciate the work that you and your office do daily for all, not only Lawrence County, but your entire area. But Mr. Stumbo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate, as always, members of council, Mr. Kane, Mr. Crookshanks, Mr. Walsh, everybody here, Mr. Kirk. Thank y'all for y'all allowing us to come in and present this. I'm well aware, we submitted this, I think, Mr. Kane, back in February. So obviously that was pre COVID-19 days. I have been in communication with the state as well, so I'm well aware that projected revenues here are going to probably be all over the map for the next several months. So I get that. I understand there's not a lot to work with. There may be less to work with in the coming months. I hope not, but I definitely understand. I did have a PowerPoint copy that I passed around. If y'all have a copy of that. The bottom line is this, and I don't want to belabor this. I'm going to try to fly through these PowerPoint slides, but today, and if I could say this before I get started, I was supposed to today at lunch be presenting basically to the law enforcement appreciation luncheon that they do every year, and I hate that we had to cancel that this year because of the COVID situation. But I did want to, because I didn't get a chance to tell all of our officers with the sheriff's department and our municipal departments how thankful we are for what they do. Especially during these difficult times, they have worked through, they've worked a lot of times extra hours, they've adjusted as they always do. And I'm so proud of the law enforcement we have, not only in Lawrence, but all over the 8th Circuit. And Sheriff, thank you for what y'all do. And Ms. Vicky in the coroner's office, thank y'all for what you do. You make our jobs a lot easier. And I wish I could have told you that today at the law enforcement luncheon, but didn't have a chance. I'm going to shoot through a couple of these slides real quick, just an overview. And this is in the letter that we submitted initially, which I think got translated into the spreadsheet. Maybe it didn't get translated into the spreadsheet, but our initial budget request included this number. This is what it cost us basically to just staff our Lawrence office right now. And that includes 6 prosecutors, 2 victim advocates, 3 administrative staff, and 1 investigator. I did actually lose 1 investigator back to the sheriff's office, Joey Pittman, who's now in investigations there. I think that was a good move for him. He wanted to get back on the front lines. Also have some part-time people that I hadn't listed here, but are in that cost that work Newberry and Lawrence. But it costs a lot of money to prosecute the several thousand cases that we get in every year from all over the county. Basically, right now we're at 300,000 in appropriations from Lawrence, and that's been about the same for the last couple of years. I thank y'all for. I know those of you who were on council at the time. I think we went from 260 up to 300 a couple of years ago to help us absorb the cost of one of our investigators. But we're still, as you can see, without state money coming in, which who knows how long we'll have that, and other grant money, that's where we make up the difference right now. One of the things that I'd like to address here just on our docket, because I know last time I addressed council, and I think Ms. Anderson asked me this question, she's not here tonight. We've, since 2015, reduced the overall backlog in Lawrence. With that, my office was a tremendous burden on our county. Since 2015, we've actually trimmed out about 700 cases off over the backlog. But even with that, trimming those out, the average age of year after year, I think we're improving that, just by attacking some of those old cases. Drug cases, and this is where I want to go with this tonight, even if this year our budget request isn't approved, I just want to let you know, this is the kind of thing I want to attack in Warrens for the next several years. And the reason for that, 30% of our docket right now is drug-related charges, drug charges specifically. That's not counting all the ones that are domestic violence because someone's high on some narcotic or substance addicted, and then they come home and abuse their significant other or their child, or other drug deals gone bad that turn into shootings and murders. So the majority, and there again, it's hard to quantify this, but the majority of our docket is somehow tied back to drugs. At the end of the day, we look at our docket overall. The 30% of them are actually drug charges. That includes everybody from the addict that's been there on just simple possession of meth or heroin or fentanyl charges, up to the ones that are actually trafficking the drugs that are obviously our major drug dealers. And there again, a lot of the others are attacking that. But listen, the bottom line is this is our main job here. And I just put this up here. This is a murder case I prosecuted a few years ago. That's my able investigator, Walter Bentley, who was kind of my prop, strangulation case that we had over in Clinton. That's our primary job, to get in the courtroom, assist law enforcement, prosecute these cases. But one of the best things we do in my office currently, I believe, is drug court. And because of our drug docket in Lawrence being particularly high, that 30% number, it's about 25, 26% in green. So we have and I think most of y'all probably already know that, just anecdotally, we have a major drug problem in Lawrence. What we do in drug court, it's a restorative justice program. It's been around for about 30 years. But when I took office in the 8th Circuit in January of 2013, we had a drug court. There were only 2 participants. And quite honestly, they didn't have any resources that they put into it. My predecessor, they essentially sent the people that they had in drug court cornerstone for treatment and drug testing, or the other Gateway or some of the other nonprofits. We've really ramped this program up. I hired a full-time director in Greenwood, or coordinator, in 2014. He's no longer with our office. And in fact, my office manager, Jamie Steeple, who's here, doubles not only as my office manager, but runs my drug court program now. We're doing this trying to obviously wear more hats than one, as we often do in government agencies. But one of the things we did is we added group and individual counseling, which is critical. We added random in-house drug testing, so we bought big boxes of 10-panel drug tests. And now, at the time, we didn't test for stuff like fentanyl and heroin. Now we do. And we do this randomly. Drug participants basically call in every day and have to, know whether they have to come in and do a drug test. Obviously, during the COVID-19 crisis, we've had to adjust. We've had to send them, instead of coming in to our offices, since we're closed to the public, we've had to send the drug testing out and outsource that. Also, they have bi-weekly court appearances with the judges. So we're kind of split into 2 areas. Judge Hocker runs our Lawrence and Newberry drug court, which he gives his time to do. Judge Hocker doesn't make any extra money to do that, nor does Judge Addy out of Greenwood. And Judge Addy typically presides over the Greenwood Abbeville drug courts. They do them early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Right now, we've capped it at 32 participants. So that's obviously better than the 2 we had in drug court when I took office. But quite honestly, the life-on-life component to drug court, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to sit down and take questions, is critical. We've had some incredible success stories, and I can tell you this, every time we have a defendant that goes from our docket through drug court, which takes about 18 months to 2 years, and they come out as one less person that the sheriff and their guys have to deal with week after week after week. These ones we just lock up and they stay in for a little while because they're a minor drug case, but they're just an addict. They come back out, and these guys got to deal with them over. The county's paying for them to sit in jail for however long they're in pretrial detention. And I'm gonna give you a couple websites if y'all after the meeting want to go look at, just look at how much, there's been studies done on how much drug courts are actually saving the government. And so it's an investment a little bit on the front end, but it's people driven. And that's how we get the accountability component. Right now, we do not have, we're running our Lawrence drug court essentially out of Greenwood. So that, certainly, one of the reasons for that is obviously the office space over there is such that I can have my drug court director there. We would like to add a position to where one of my prosecutors, and this is what this position, this ask is for, and it's $78,000 because I think it would be a $60,000 position plus benefit salary, plus benefits. The 30% goes on top of that, I think 78. What I would like to do is take a prosecutor that right now is just doing a little bit of everything, really focus them in on our drug docket. Not only focus them in on prosecuting the drug docket, but being present in court, communicating with our drug court director, making sure the participants are being tested often. And quite honestly, I think in the long run, what that does is hopefully that prosecutor doesn't have that drug court participant ever in court again. We ran some numbers 2 years ago, and I need to update this, but in 2018, we ran all the drug court graduates that we had since I had taken office, and only 10% of those defendants reoffended. And so it's a program that works if you do it right, but to do it right, you have to have people. And quite honestly, right now, at that cap of 32 participants circuit-wide, so that kind of breaks down to about 16 in Lawrence, 16 in Greenwood, and then Newberry and Abbeville are in those, included in those numbers, but it's 32. I think we could have a drug court that serviced 100, 150, and we still would be falling short of really attacking this problem. I can tell you this, after this COVID crisis with the economic downturn and people losing jobs, I expect an absolute avalanche of drug-related cases and quite domestic violence as well as we're coming out of this. Because we know what happens when the economy turns south is when people aren't working, they turn to drugs, and the drug trade, the market goes up for illegal narcotics. And these guys are going to be really busy dealing with that. What I'd like to do is start to think about, as a county here in Lawrence, how do we get ahead of this issue? I think we always in government seem to just react to problems, but we're anticipating here, I believe, a massive influx of drug cases. This program is one that allows us to change lives and save the government money at the same time. I tell you, it's a bipartisan thing. I know the Trump administration was very interested in drug courts. The drug court director nationally for the executive committees from South Carolina. I had a conversation with them. They had a meeting at the White House last year. And it's also extremely well received, a lot of the justice reform efforts on the Democrat side as well. So this is something I think all of our citizens can get behind, council, and I don't want to beat a dead horse with that, but I would like to bring to the attention, to council's attention, a couple of success stories. This is one of the reasons why I love drug court. This guy here, his name is Christopher Hitchner. Chris Hitchner had a burglary charge in 2013 when I came into office. He did a daytime break-in with a couple of other meth addicts. They found a house that was empty. They went in, stole a bunch of guns, stole a bunch of digital equipment, and they were caught and arrested by the sheriff's department at the time. And I remember talking to Chris in the holding cell before his court hearing, and we were about to do a guilty plea on the burglary case. And one thing he said to me, his lawyer was there, but he said, Mr. Stumbo, if I could get off of meth, I wouldn't break in houses anymore. He said he didn't really have a large record, but it was all substance abuse related. This is a picture of him recently with his son. His son, at the time I put Chris in drug court, was a toddler. Now he's an elementary student. Chris actually, last year, I had a tire blowout on our car. My wife and I called the tow company, and a tow guy hooks up our car and hauls it to the place to get the tire fixed. And this guy says to me, Mr. Stumbo, you don't remember me, do you? And it was Chris Hitchner. And he said, I'm Chris Hitchner, you put me in drug court. And now he's running his tow company, he's making good money, he's supporting his kids. And I firmly believe that if we hadn't put him in drug court, he'd still be on meth and dealing with law enforcement today. These guys would be dealing with Chris. So that's a success story. We've had a couple others in Lawrence as well. This is Jessica. Jessica came in, she was pregnant when she came in on meth charges. And ultimately, this is her today this is her holding her drug court graduation certificate. She had her child. It took her about 2 years to get through the program. She had her ups and downs, but she made it through. And Jessica now is a productive member of our county and raising her child. Otherwise, that child would be I'm sure in our social services system. And we would have a mess on our hands, and Jessica would, if not 6 feet under, be still in and out of jail. And the last one, this is Lucy Prather. This is her on drugs. Around the time she was arrested, I think she had a pill problem, opiates, and which has become the huge issue we're dealing with now. And this is Lucy after she graduated from drug court now with her husband. And she's turned her life around. So there again, I could come up, this is just a handful of the examples. This is in your packet, a couple of different links that I would ask you if you just type them in, go to it, take 5 or 10 minutes to look through it. This program, long-term for our county this doesn't mean we're not going to be prosecuting everybody else. And quite honestly, not all drug cases are appropriate for this. The ones that are the most prolific selling drugs and making money off the backs of others and misery of others are not the ones that are addicted and need drug court. But there are a whole lot of hundreds of people on our dockets in Lawrence County that could benefit from this program. I would like to add this specific prosecutor, drug court prosecutor, and that's the ask that we have the $130,000 in extra dollars this year would be 2 positions, $60,000 salary position for a drug court prosecutor, a drug prosecutor that also runs drug court through the court system, and then a director that's able to facilitate the drug testing and the counseling. The counseling is intensive, and if you don't stay connected with these folks day in and day out, they go through a lot of the 12-step programs. And then we set them up when they graduate from drug court to continue on in that through NA and AA and Celebrate Recovery. So these are the asks that we have this year, in addition to the $300,000 that we have gotten annually from the county. I think it's a problem that until we really start hitting drug courts hard, these guys are going to continue to be inundated with drug cases. And like I told them, we work closely with them to figure out who's appropriate for drug court and who's not. There's a whole lot of these drug cases that are dealers, and we need to take them to trial and put them away for as long as we possibly can to take them out of business. But there's a whole lot of other ones that are not only, drugs, but they just, doing petty thefts and other nonviolent type property crimes that have been a plague on our county for far too long. And I know just about all of us have been touched by that issue, either in our families or our circle of friends. We've known someone who's got addiction issues. The state, we don't really have a statewide drug court scheme right now. We probably need one. But I can tell you this, we're going to continue to do this because I believe in it, but I want to do it on a much larger scale than we've done it in the past. And I think ultimately it'll save our county money in detention costs. And y'all are talking about that today, our jail, it'll save detention costs. It'll let these guys really focus on the violent crimes. If we can get, the more people we get clean through this program, the better off we are. So I've probably already taken up too much of y'all's time. Thank you so much for allowing me to present this. I know this year is thin with money. I get it, Mr. Chairman. I understand that. This is something that I'm going to continue to really ask for on the state level with the other 15 solicitors. We're going to be, you know, we talked about this. This is something we'd like the state to address as well. Not just, you know, one circuit or one county. There again, I don't know if we're going to get too far with additional revenue this year on the state side either, but I do want to get that conversation started here in Lawrence. Do y'all have any questions?
Are there any questions of the solicitor? We're very fortunate to have a resident solicitor living in our county. We certainly appreciate it. I would just like to say I applaud the efforts. I can't blame you for asking. It is labor intensive when you're dealing with people. You're 100% correct. I will offer this. Is there any council member who would like to adjust the solicitor's budget at this time?
And I'll take one of the two, Mr. Chairman, if that's on the table. So, I mean, I understand that there's not much there. If we had one of the two, the director, $40,000 a year salary would be a lower amount, so.
The unfortunate thing is we're not raising taxes and we're not collecting the local option sales tax.
And from what I understand, if the revenues on the state side come back in a lesser amount, which is projected at this point, the local government fund is certainly not going to get any better. And I understand that that's a constraint that y'all have.
I'm very concerned about that.
But thank y'all for your service. I appreciate everything.
We certainly thank you and your folks for what you do on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next, this time, the rest is the detention center and sheriff's office. This time, I recognize our sheriff, Sheriff Don Reynolds.
I'm gonna allow Director Evans here to explain some of his understanding of the need we have at the detention center.
So the first things, if you could just focus your attention, we've got a little more than 30 minutes to cover a lot of ground. If you look at the column under requested and you compare that under the column of recommended, skip the personnel piece unless you've got anything you want to add on that one. At this point, we do have another agenda item to cover that. If you just focus on those particular line items, starting with, it looks like physicians and medical supplies. You follow me? You tracking me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just focus on those particular ones. Everything else should be okay.
Okay. So if you're looking at the physicians and medical supplies, the true contract cost is $306,734. Last year, we was budgeted $267. This is one of the items that I originally talked about last year. It wasn't, I don't think it's been budgeted for the actual contract in years, going back several years backwards. And I just asked for the actual contract cost that I believe that, I know I forwarded the contract to everybody that's involved in it. So that's the true number that it's going to cost the county to get it. And that's what we're going to pay. This year alone, we're paying $292, I believe it is. It was budgeted for $267. That's just part of the contract itself. Then, you know, I'm not asking for anything other than what we're actually going to have to spend. Mr. Kane, which one you want me to look at next?
Do you
Hold on a
want,
minute.
you want to take these individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Council, that is line item 33065.
Motion to adjust to actual cost.
Second. There's a motion by Mr. Carroll and a second, I believe, by Mr. McDaniel first. Any discussion
You gonna change what now?
on 33065? Mr. Carroll made the motion to increase it to the actual cost of the contract of $306,734. Okay. Any discussion on this? Yes. Do we go out to bid for this every so often?
Right, so Southern Health Partners has been the contract for several years now. We have not put this one up for bid. Talking to several administrators around the state, they're the best. And they're probably gonna come in line the cheapest. Now, we could always open this up for another bid at any time.
When's the last time we bid it? Does anybody know?
I think it was during my term. I know we did a new contract with them. recently.
It's been within the last 3
2 years. wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. We did rebid
And
this.
wasn't there a built-in increase in that contract?
Escalation clause.
Yeah.
Annually, yes,
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
that's where.
I'm good with
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Any other questions?
Well, last year, actual was 150, is that right?
That's year to date.
No, that's
6 months of this fiscal year through December of
Okay.
2019.
Any other questions? I don't see if we have any choice in this. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. In opposition, like signs. Motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Wood in opposition.
Next one would be prisoner transport. You've asked for $2,500 and your budget last year was 1,000.
Yes, sir. The amount of prisoner transports we've had last year alone was 1,500 transports, and the extra amount would just be to buying additional shackles, supplies, and things of that nature to supply the vehicles with. That is an item that I can work with.
So you're saying you're okay with 1,000?
I can go back to 1,000.
Okay, so the next line item would be computer maintenance. You're asking for $15,000.
That's line item 43020, council.
Yes, sir. Now, this line item here, so currently for the detention center, I have one line item that is listed for system maintenance, which is that 43072. And it's budgeted at 95,000. And I spoke with Mr. Kaney, and what I would like to do if possible is separate that line item into the 3 other line items. Therefore, I can track what we truly spend in building maintenance, what we truly spend in our system maintenance, which maintains the operating system for the cameras and all the other items inside the facility, and then a computer maintenance line item. Therefore, we can accurately track what is spent on each different thing, and we would know how to properly budget for it and prepare in the future. And I put a little, I don't know if Mr. King, did you pass that note out there again? That line item 43072 for the system maintenance, I requested we could drop that to $50,000. And then on the line item 43012, I'm requesting 150 for building maintenance. Obviously, that was a request based on how much we're actually spending on true building maintenance. And then line item 43020, those are 2 blank line items, and I've asked for 15,000 for computer maintenance for that one. Basically, all the computers in the detention center, like any other electronic, gets old over time, and I want to be able to forecast and put a good 5-year plan together to replace what we need to replace over time.
So basically, if you look at the systems maintenance line item 43072, which was budgeted at $95,000, the essential, what he's asking for apparently is $215,000 broken into those 3 line items, 15,000, 150,000, and 50,000.
Yes, sir. And that we'd be able to truly track what we spend to fix the building, as what we spend to fix computers, and as what we spend to fix.
Okay, I got you. Hang tight. The bottom line is, we've got $95,000 budgeted. They're asking for an additional $165,000. Is there any member of council that would like to see an increase of any amount? To include, he can break it up any of the 3 line items he wants. I don't care. But is there any member of council that would like to see or make a motion to increase it from 95 to whatever you would like to?
I'd be interested, but I have a question first. The projected on system maintenance is 153, but the total we're looking at is 215.
Yes, sir. And projection on that is because we have not budgeted any money in for computers or the actual system maintenance, which you've been out to the facility, you've seen all my cameras that are down.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to factor in a way to replace those cameras over time. And stay
Well, that
within
should
our
not be
reasonable budget.
included in a systems maintenance line item. That should be in a supply or capital line item. Is that correct? That needs to be moved to a different place.
Right. And what I'm looking at is over time to
I
repair.
understand. You're just trying to, cameras die and I get it.
Yes, sir.
Is there a line item for cameras anywhere? I don't see that.
No, sir. It was all falls under that system maintenance item. And that's why I guess over the past 4 or 5 years, it's always been over. It always goes red.
Okay. you've heard the explanation.
I will make a motion that we adjust the budget to mirror the projection from FY 20, which is 153,720. Based on what we've seen in the past historically, I make a motion for that.
So you're making a motion to increase the budget in the amount of $58,720.
Can we make that a round number, please?
I'll try.
Yes.
Either
65.
150, 155.
60,000, if that's even enough for you, I'll amend my motion.
So you're talking 160 total?
No.
155.
155, okay.
Okay. So on line item 43072, Councilman Carroll has made the motion to increase that budget in the amount of $65,000 to $155,000. Is that correct? That is $60,000, yes. $60,000 increase to increase this budget to $155,000. Is there a second? And a second by Mr. Yance.
65,000 wouldn't increase it, no 150 would it?
Right, this would go to 155, so you increase it from 95 to 155. That's $60,000.
We'll talk about how to break it up with Lisa.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a motion that has been properly seconded. Now I'll open the floor for discussion.
That's for everything out of the budget, Mr. Chairman.
As chairman, I'm going to ask for discussion. Is there any discussion?
No, basing it off actions.
Okay. All right. They're hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition with like sign. Motion passes 5-1 with Councilmember Wood in opposition.
Next one, I'm sorry, the next one would be telephone. Budget last year was 21,000, and the request is 25,000, which seems to be about what their bill has been.
Yes, sir. And if you look at every line item I've asked for, I'm asking for the actual true numbers that we're going to spend on our projections to cover just basic necessities.
All right, is there a motion to increase the telephone line item by $5,000?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McDaniel, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Patterson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition with like sign. Motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Wood in opposition.
Next one is juvenile incarceration. The request is for 30,000. Budget last year was 25.
Is there a motion to increase juvenile incarceration line item 56016 in the amount of $5,000?
That's incorrect, Mr.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, that's.
Chairman. Next line down.
Sorry,
Training.
thank you for the clarification. It's actually training, thank you for that correction.
All right. Increasing training, line item 57080, in the amount of $5,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
25 to 30.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
We're tight this year. Can you live with that 25?
Look, I'm happy with that system maintenance. I'm good. We can stay at 25.
Next
Moving
line
on.
item will be office supplies, 13,000. Last year's budget was 12,000.
That line item is 61700, Council. And so is there a motion to increase it by $1,000?
Some of it.
Motion by Mr. Patterson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Yance. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition, like sign. Motion passes 5-1.
Next line item is postage, $2,000 is a request, $1,500 is last year's budget.
Your motion to increase postage by $500. Motion by Mr. Daniel, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion?
And this, just reiterating what you said, this is bringing up the actual costs that you're seeing that we're gonna have incurred, so your budget is in line.
Yes, sir. Cause I mean, I would prefer to be able to have a budget I can work with, that when I look at you guys, I can say I stayed within it and have a fighting chance to actually do that.
Any other questions? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposition, like sign. 5-1, Councilmember Wood in opposition.
Next item is uniforms, 25,000 is a request. Last year's budget was 20,000.
Is there a motion to increase the uniform expenditure by $5,000? Hearing none, move on.
Next item would be utilities. Last year's budget was 200,000. The request is 225,000.
And the year-to-date through December was $111,729. Is there a motion to increase the utility cost of detention center by $25,000?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second. Second by Mr. Daniel. Any discussion?
Yeah,
I don't see that we have any choice.
I don't either, and when you deal with utilities, and you can't move those anywhere else, so if we're under, it doesn't hurt us.
That's right. Any others? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. 6-0. Next.
The final item is food. The request is $400,000.
This one I knew was coming. They don't have a choice on this.
Which one, Mr. Cameron?
This would be food. This is the line item food.
63000, council. So this is a contract as well, am I right?
Yes, sir. We had just put a bid out for a contract. We got a new company. Hopefully, if everything works out right, they will be starting officially cooking meals next week. 400 is going to be right at that line. I do have some plans on working with these people to come under 400. That's the game plan. But it's all based on how many inmates we have. And it's the price per inmates. Their bid was the best that we got. That's where we're at.
And this is for 1 year?
Now, it's a 3-year contract. Here's the good deal. Me and Mr. Cruikshank talked about it. So a 3-year contract, we're gonna lock them in for the first 3. Then after that, they're gonna have an option to do an increase.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to increase food and provisions for detention center by $50,000?
Motion.
Motion, is there a second? Motion by Mr. Carroll, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Patterson. Any discussion?
And I do want to note, we're actually increasing it 25 over last year. So it's not like we're going up 50 over last year, it's only 25 over last year.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you smoked.
And that is based on a
Oh,
per inmate charge, so it's a fixed charge. You had less,
Yes.
hopefully, or
So
something.
the fewer the inmates, the more the meal costs. The more the inmates, the cheaper the meal is. That's the way the system is as far as, just like at schools, but hopefully we're gonna stay under at 400.
all right, we need to amend that motion to reflect the true amount. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. 25,000, you
I make
accept it?
I'd like to amend my motion.
You accept it?
Increase 25,000.
Okay, so it's 25,000 on here, that's better than 50. We have a motion that's been properly second. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. And then the opposition, like sign. 5-1, Councilmember Wood in opposition. Next.
Thank you.
The next section, which we can skip, is we can come back to if you decide you want to, is the detention center personnel request. There is $550,000 worth of personnel requests. Or y'all wanting to reconsider any of those requests, knowing the current situation we're in?
What was the increase on the budget in that this year from last year?
60 plus 25, what we just did, I didn't write it all down. 60 plus 25 plus 500 plus 1,000. 86.5, I'm close, I think. But most of it was utilities and food provisions,
I got 225,000.
plus the systems maintenance of 65,000. So it should be around 150, 141. Maybe I missed something.
Just off the cuff, I've got 225.
Let's get back through
We can come back to this.
You said 225?
Yeah, if you
it.
would
I
give.
don't think it's that much.
If you give me some time when I give you the scorecard at the next time, because we've got a lot to
In
cover.
between this meeting and the next, we'll add.
I'll give you a scorecard at the next meeting to tell you exactly
Yeah.
the total dollar amount that we've added.
About 180.
So, again, on the personnel, are y'all want,
Maybe because I called out 50 instead of 25 on food.
I'm just running the spreadsheet numbers. I may be
Okay.
off. Any reconsideration of any of those personnel requests?
As when the sheriff has talked, and if he wants to stand down on that for now, I guess revisit it later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that. The next is the sheriff's office.
Thank you.
Okay, so council skip the next section, go to appendix C, non-consent agenda, number 542, sheriff's office. Sheriff Reynolds.
So on this particular one, if I can get you focused again, Mickey, if you could help the sheriff on those line items that are different under, and start with the beyond uniform allowance on down, not personnel lines. If you could start with those, starting with professional services where you had a request of 3,500. You could just compare those two columns and then just focus on those differences.
We'll just leave that alone. We'll manage it.
Remain current. Put what you put recommended.
For everything, or you want to go through any of them?
Just for that one, I mean, we'll go down them like that, those.
Okay, that's fine. If you just go through those.
All right, Mickey, tell me where you start.
Yeah, we,
Listen, I know that y'all feel pressed for time. If y'all want to go this line by line, but I know we're pressed for time, but I realize the situation that the county is in with all the unforeseen what's been going on. I would love, we need personnel badly, but I understand the reality of what it's been every year, much less this year. So that said, I need you to look at the bid for maintenance. He asked for 300,000. I think you suggested 250,000. I think we're sitting at 277,000 right now. So we're already over that amount. I think we need 300,000 bid for maintenance.
Which line item's that?
That line item is 43090. Is there any council member who would like to recommend to increase that line item by $50,000?
Motion to increase to the $300,000 request.
There's a motion by Mr. Carroll to increase it by 50,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McDaniel. Any discussion? Yes. That amount should be coming down because we're buying newer cars.
We have bought a lot of used cars too, sir. We haven't gotten any new cars. Y'all are okay with the new cars, but we're not even gonna see those until the end of the year, looks like, because of all that's going on. So we haven't received those new cars yet, unfortunately.
Billy, do you work with that any?
Very little, but I can answer anything. I don't know.
Okay.
We've been told we won't see those cars. It doesn't look like until.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition will like sign. Motion passes 4-2. Council members Wood in opposition. Next.
The other issue is this asset forfeiture that's gone south as far as this ability to run a drug fund. It's been depleted because of going back on giving this stuff back to through these attorneys. So we're asking for a new line item for $8,000 for a drug fund to be able to get out here and operate with these drug dealers to have, in other words, to have buy money to work off of to be able to operate a unit. Because we're sitting flat on the ground since they give everything back. It had been previously.
That's on the second page, right under 61850.
Correct. New program. That's correct.
Thank you.
It's on the second page. New program, $8,000.
That's on page 11. Is there a motion to add this? I'm assuming this is to go out and buy drugs from the drug dealers.
Yes, it's do business
Okay.
with the.
Is there a motion to approve $8,000 expenditure?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Patterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion?
Do we recoup that money after the rest of the meeting, or?
It's fully intended. Sometimes we do, sometimes we get shortchanged or can't predict it.
Would you, it's only $8,000, but explain to me what you were saying, it got moved?
No, the asset forfeiture, the money that was taken, like you could buy vehicles to be drug
Right.
operations, such, all that money that had been taken and set aside in an account got ruled through court judge to give it back. So that left us, that depleted us. We don't, where you you would take assets to be able to work off of drug funds. The judges are giving it back now and making it harder and harder to do so. So it's a vicious circle, but we still got to go for it.
There's actually a special revenue fund for the sheriff's office that covers that, but that fund has been depleted with a court action.
And we have to keep doing business if we're doing.
Of course you do. Any further discussion?
The judges are giving what back?
They given the funds that have been taken, that were illegal funds, they're ruling if they were taken for whatever reason that they choose wrongly and giving it back to through the lawyer.
Give it back to the dealer.
Giving it back to thugs, drug dealer, whatever you want to call it.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition, like sign. Motion passes 5-1, Councilman Wood in opposition.
Anything else?
The last thing I'd like to address is, as of 6 o'clock, about 6 a.m. this morning, we had a shooting that quickly became a crime scene that stretched from here to Saluda through 3 counties, right at the shift change. So that is the next thing I'm standing here because of. Because that shooting stretched through 3 counties at 6 a.m. this morning, created a heck, of course, they're in custody, they're arrested, and they've already pledged a week. My guys, along with the Highway Patrol, Newberry and Saluda County, did a great job. So, but because of that, it's overtime, we're so pressed against overtime. So I wanted to address y'all in the senses that maybe we're right on the cusp. I know we got 3 more pay periods ending this year that we could transfer maybe some of these funds out of, maybe I was gonna question you on a couple of accounts like this juvenile incarceration, or maybe, I don't know how this works, the employee health amount there to cover this, to get us through these last 3 paychecks.
You're talking about in the current fiscal year?
Yeah, since, I mean, it's what you and I talked the other day, was noted that we're right against the wall, so.
Right.
And
Well, that, unfortunately, but the budget is just a snapshot, that's all that is.
yes,
You will go over in that budget for this current year.
Yeah.
But right here, we're just talking about the
Okay.
next year. Are you requesting additional money in overtime for next year's budget?
sir, as it stands here, I know what we have down here at 110 is not going to cover next year, most likely. So we would greatly need an increase in overtime to duly, because evidently when we got a cost of living, what minute that is, it didn't, I mean, the overtime remained the same, which you would think overtime would figure a little more. So that and the demand both drives it.
Okay. Is there a motion of any council member to increase the budgeted amount for FY 21 from $110,000 in overtime, and that's line item 13000, to any specified amount you so choose?
Sheriff Reynolds, do you have like a
Hold on,
percentage?
hang on, I got a motion here. Got a motion by Mr. Yance.
We need a dollar amount.
Or Mr. Yance, what dollar amount would you like to increase that
Go
to?
from 110 to 135.
135, we need to make ends meet.
That's what he just said.
Yes, yes.
135 will make ends meet. That'll be my motion.
Okay. There's a motion by Mr. Yance to increase overtime budget for sheriff's office, line item 13000, increase it by $25,000 to $135,000. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Carroll. Now I'll open the floor for discussion. Welcome, sir. All right, where was that? We got a motion by somebody and a second by somebody. I hope y'all got it. First motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion? Yes. I will just say that the overtime budget has typically, depending on the staffing ratios, since I've been on council in 2011, we added some positions under the previous sheriff and reduced the overtime budget, as well as my memory correct. Serves me well, I hope it does. It's an issue that we face every year. There's never enough money in salaries and overtime if you combine the two at the sheriff's office. regardless of who's in front. Any further discussion? All right, Ms. Anderson, I'm gonna repeat the motion for you. What we're voting on right now is there's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to increase the overtime budget at the sheriff's office from $110,000 to $135,000, which is an increase of $25,000, okay? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Those in opposition, like signs. Motion fails 4-3, 3-4, with Councilmember McDaniel, Anderson, Wood, and Pitts in opposition. Next.
Well, may I go on record to ask you this question?
Yes,
In
sir.
other words, if we go over next year, okay, we have to do what we have to do. Is that correct? I understand it.
We certainly don't want any department going over, but
I understand it, but I can't schedule building a house. We have to.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
next.
Any other things with the regular budget? If there's not, in light of the current situation, is there any reconsideration of the salary requests that were originally submitted?
I tell you what, I'll stand down on everything, but as I addressed you the other day, I need one additional law enforcement officer, one additional deputy.
So
And that's
basically,
when all the school gets
I'm
kicked
sorry.
back off, all this other stuff, and that northern precinct into the county is getting heavier and heavier, and I need another additional individual, so.
So that
that's
$1 million request would drop down to somewhere in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Okay. Is there a motion to add one full-time deputy in the sheriff's office? Depending on whether they choose a full family coverage or single coverage, it could be up to $60,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I need to run the numbers, but it's somewhere in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. That sound right, Lisa? Off the cuff. So rather than $1 million, we're looking at significantly less.
All right, so the way I'm gonna ask the question is there a motion to add one FTE, full-time equivalency of a sheriff's deputy for the FY 21 budget?
Yes.
There is a motion by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Mr. Patterson. Any discussion?
I do have one clarification question. So for the line item budget, we just went through, you're consenting to everything else?
Yes, sir, if I can, this ends I guess the long road. If I can get this in, then we'll try to
On
run the rest.
personnel, you're getting rid of all of them except for one FTE.
That's correct.
Are you fully staffed now?
Actually, I have two openings on the road, on the uniform, on the road, but if I can get one additional, that'll help me fill a hole that I can battle it. Or we can battle it.
Any further discussion? Ms. Anderson?
Is this request among the other requests that's on this request sheet from all the other departments?
We're taking it from 6 to 1. This sheet, so he's got, one, let's see, salary change, 6 new positions, new IT positions, 3 new investigators, and education supplement. We're dropping all of those for one FTE.
You was asking 6 and now you're 7 for 1. Is that
Well,
what
I've
we're
been
saying?
asking, I've been asking for 3 or 4 every year, and I don't get any, so maybe I'll ask for one.
There's
I'll
actually
get
10 on
one.
there,
Right.
total. There's 10 total, plus salary adjustments and education adjustments.
Any other discussion about this one FTE? That's all we're discussing right now is the one FTE.
I do agree, we're gonna have a demand, increase in demand in different parts of our county immediately on those things that are going on, so I think it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Here,
I just think we have to work within the budget, and we have to make sure that everybody is being served, and every department is also gonna be increased, not increased in one department, but increases in every department, and you have to look at everybody as a whole, and not one as an entity by itself. So, I love the sheriff, but
Yes, ma'am.
somebody else heard that tonight. The coroner, I told her I loved her, but we couldn't vote for it. All right, hearing none. Hearing in, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to call for the vote. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. And those in opposition, like sign. Passes 6-1 with Councilmember Wood in opposition. Correction, the vote. You're changing yours to the negative?
Yes, sir.
The motion passes 5-2 with council members Anderson and Wood in opposition.
That's it. We got a lot.
Thank you.
Concludes the budget meeting. Hang tight, we got 2 minutes. 2-minute recess.